You could say that he was a little bit nerdy, if you like, using today's terms. I think he still has a lot to give to the country, but in a different capacity, in a different role. We've known each other for more than 40 years, nearly 50 years. Well, when we were both in the SAF, he was 2 years my senior, we had met each other during the time when we were both having the SAF scholarships. So that goes back to the mid-70s. You could say that he was a little bit nerdy, if you like, using today's terms. He was into all kinds of things, and he was wanting to improve things. So he was in the artillery, and he actually used at that time a HP-41, which was a programmable handheld calculator to sort out in a more convenient form the ballistic tables for the guns, which was something which he did using his knowledge and his interest. In the ministries that I ran, I hardly ever need to go back to him for a decision. For example, when I was in MINDEF, I put up very few papers for a decision because he let me run the ministry. But of course, major issues, we go, because we have to discuss them. That means, you know what your responsibilities are, you get on with the job. But you also know when to ask, when to raise issues, and when to ask for a consultation. For example, during the Little India riot, 1 or 2 days after that, he was meant to go on a trip. I cannot remember to where. So we discussed it, and he said, he's going, he will leave it in my hands. So I said, sure, no problem. So from that point of view, he's very good at letting his team members get on with the job. But he keeps in touch with what's going on. Oh, he does sometimes, but actually he's more disciplined with himself now. So he makes sure that he gets, enough rest and so on, because you need that. The most important thing to have when you want to make a major decision actually is a fresh and clear mind. If you're tired and exhausted and you try and make a decision, you can often end up making bad decisions. Well, he's a very resilient person. I mean, he's had his health issues and so forth, not major ones, but he's overcome them and he's continued to work. The passing of his father and the subsequent events were very difficult for him. It was very painful for him, especially that very open disagreement over Oxley Road. I've known him for a very long time, and he was able to separate the personal from what is right for the country. And so he recused himself. He asked me to oversee the matter. For instance, the entire thing I got out of PM's approach to this was, I have nothing to hide. Let's be transparent about it. I should add that apart from knowing PM for a long time, I also know Sen Yang for a long time. We worked together. We worked in the armed forces, in the joint staff. When he left the armed forces, I encouraged him to stay and contribute to Singapore. He's a very able man. But what I can say is that through these years, PM has remained the same in terms of how he behaves, how he deals with issues. I was quite saddened to see the change in Sen Yang. And I was also quite saddened to eventually discover, because I didn't know at the time some of these facts, I was quite saddened to see what the findings of the court and their subsequent conclusions and judgments. I think he still has a lot to give to the country, but in a different capacity, in a different role. His experience, his wisdom, the contacts he's established, and the perspectives which he can share. You talk about engaging a consultant. This is the most valuable one you can possibly have, I think we're very fortunate to have in Singapore. In many countries with a transition in government, it's more often than not rocky, and you lose that continuity and stability, and you also potentially lose that experience of the previous leaders. So I think this is something which we have in Singapore, which we should value and treasure.